Welcome to the show. This episode, we're going to be talking about how to create a company culture and really get your mission of your company dialed in.
Welcome to Thriving Launch with Luis Congdon and Kamala Chambers, the show for heart-centered entrepreneurs who want it all.
Maybe you can relate to this. When I was a full-time coach, I found that I had to keep repeating the same things to people over and over and over again, and it got to be kind of draining, and I wasn't really enjoying what I was doing anymore. So what I decided to do was record the things that I had to tell clients over and over and over again, and then I packaged those recordings together and sold them as an online course. If you're interested in creating and selling your own online course, head over to thrivinglaunch.com and I have a free training for you on how to create and make passive income through your own online course.
Today's guest is Brandon Wilson. He's the Marketing Development Officer for Office Pride. They're one of the fastest growing franchises in the nation, and they also won some incredible awards for being one of the best franchises for women to join in 2017. So without further ado, let's welcome Brandon to the show. All right, Thriving Launchers, we are here with Brandon Wilson. Hey, Brandon, are you ready to launch?
I am. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's fantastic to have you. You guys have done some really great things with growing your company and getting some amazing awards. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is, as your company has grown, there's this thing that happens with companies, and I've noticed it having worked for very large companies and small companies, that they're small and then they grow and they become bigger. And one of those things is company culture, creating an environment where people feel like there's this kind of cohesiveness and there's a certain kind of culture that makes people want to be part of what's happening. And as a company grows, I notice that they tend to lose that. So I'm curious from your perspective, one, what is called company culture? And two, why does it matter?
I think company culture is who we are, who your company is as a whole, more so than just, hey, what do you sell? What do you do? What's your service? It goes down to the roots of who your people are, what you believe in. And, for me, I feel that company culture today is now more important than ever. It used to be you could attract employees or potential customers through, just your service or what you sell. But now people are really more interested in who you are, what do you believe in, what do you stand for. So that's what my 30,000 foot overview about company culture.
I love that. One thing that really helps build that culture is starting with the hiring process. Can you tell me a little bit about that process for you and how it helps to shape your company culture?
Yeah, I think your hiring and your recruitment process really needs to focus on the company culture. You want to have people that align with your core values and what you believe in, because ultimately that's what's going to keep your culture going for the long run. So during the hiring, the interview process, it's crucial for you to effectively communicate what your company culture is, who you are, what you believe in, and make sure that the person that you're speaking with, that their beliefs and values align with yours.
So here's something that I've noticed, and I'm really curious and interested about how you guys go about it, because one of the things I noticed about your company, you guys are very immediate in letting people know that you are a faith-based company. You're a company who is really grounded in Christianity and faith. And one of the things that I'm curious about is, how do you have that kind of conversation in kind of the climate it is of hiring people, where you're not completely allowed to include all of that or ask people what their faith is, but somehow that is part of your culture and part of what you guys have as your core values. So how do you organize a interview so that that kind of messaging can still kind of come across while also kind of not impinging on someone else's faith or form of spirituality, but just checking in to see if the core values align and are, they're aligned, they're similar somehow. So how do you do that?
Great question. And, we are very open about being a faith-based organization. That's what we are founded on. All of our core beliefs and values are based on biblical principles. So does that mean that you have to be a Christian to be involved in the company? No, it doesn't. But what it does mean is that you need to be willing to operate and conduct yourself within the core values. And with that, most of the core values that we have are things that are just that most people have, not necessarily in a faith-based company, but just as good business practice. Hard work, integrity, accountability. It's things that go hand in hand with good business practice.
So I'm curious, what kind of question might you ask to make sure that somebody knows the core values and that you guys are faith-based? As somebody who's been a director of a nonprofit, for example, and I have my own spiritual views and perspectives. If I was asking somebody a question, I might not say, hey, are you Christian? Because I can't come out and say something like that. But I might say, I don't know. I don't know how you would phrase those kind of questions. And I know that as a senior director, as a manager, I always had to be really careful whenever I brought up anything regarding forms of spirituality. And so I'm curious how you guys do that in a way that maintains a strong connection to your core values and that someone else can be aligned with that once they come on board.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for us, when during the interview process, trying to find out if someone's going to align with the core values, like you said, you can't go out and ask someone, hey, are you do you align with this spiritual belief? But what you can do, and what's more important, is to find out if the characteristics and the traits that they carry are aligned with those of yourself and the company. And the way you do that, I think, is really asking about situational type things within the job, within the business environment. So you can ask questions regarding past employment. What would you do in this situation, or what have you done in this situation? But also for the faith-based aspect, you can ask them about volunteer positions that they hold on the outside of employment. So that's a really good way to find out what someone's beliefs are, what they value, what they hold near and dear to their heart is, the volunteering that they do outside of work.
Well, I really like some of those questions, especially when you start asking about what does somebody like to do outside of work and what are their interests are. And I think that's good for anybody when we're hiring somebody, or if you're a coach, if you're finding out if somebody's a fit for you as a client. If you run a company and you want to do business with another company, it's a great way to find out who is this person really, because there's a whole business relationship that's happening when you hire somebody or when you do business with someone else, but there's also that deeper relationship that's happening. I'm curious, as your business has grown, what has been one of the biggest challenges in maintaining that company culture and kind of keeping that cohesiveness with your company and with the team? Because I know as companies grow, they can really struggle with that. And it's something that's, it's been a burden for a lot of companies to maintain that strong. What helped them grow isn't
what
always,
their mission is.
Yeah, what helps a company grow doesn't always, it becomes more of a challenge to maintain as they get bigger and bigger.
Sure. And it definitely does. As you grow, as you expand, you do start to lose sight of some of the more intricate details. But I think the key for it is, making sure that the leadership that you have in place and that you put in place carries those beliefs and values that you started with as a small company, as an emerging company or brand. Making sure that the leadership actively communicates the values and lives the values while they're working. It's kind of the top-down approach. So I think that's one way to help ensure that the company values stay while you grow.
Other than what you've already mentioned, before we go here, I would love to hear what is the top tip that you would give a business owner to help them to really build a strong company culture?
I think going with what you're passionate about, ingraining what you feel passionate about as an individual within your company, it's going to be much easier to sustain that over the long run than just what you think looks good on paper or what sounds good to potential investors. So finding what's important to you, building that into your company culture, and carrying that for the long run of the company.
Brandon, I love that we had this conversation today because it's something that I've been writing about recently. And one of the things that you said, I'm actually working on this article about how companies that have a mission and clearly put that out there as what their mission are and their deeper purpose for doing business and existing, how that actually helps increase business. And it may also drive away some potential customers, but it also lets your current customers or customers who are potential to be your clients, it makes them more like diehard fans. It makes them more go, wow, I want to do business with them. And it also lets other people go, you know what, I don't want to do business with them. And we have to be willing to lose some to get some. And I just really connected with that first thing that you said at the beginning, is that people want to connect with other people. People want to connect with values and not with just brands or logos. They want to connect with something deeper. And that's really where we're at nowadays. Because there's so many companies doing business in pretty much every niche we can imagine. And Thriving Launchers, I'm trying to tell you something here, is that make your business stand for something deeper than just the service that you offer. Make it stand for something deeper than what it is that you do, but make it about part of who you are and what you stand for in the world, and that will help draw people in. And it's one of the things that's really helped Office Pride stand out, and it's why you guys have won multiple awards. It's why we brought you on the show, because you guys are doing something exemplary, and we're glad that you came on the show. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us today. And Thriving Launchers, make sure to go out there and let the world know what you stand for, and let your customers and clients know that, so that you can win more fans, and also let the people that aren't connected with you choose someone else. Until next time, Thriving Launchers, we'll see you on the next episode.
You've been listening to the Thriving Launch podcast. For books and resources related to today's episode, make sure to head over to thrivinglaunch.com. We'll see you there.